Welcome back to the Age of Industry, where I'm working to document all of the things that I'm building on my beta version of the Glowforge laser cutter. And today I'd like to talk about, I don't know what to call these, hovercrafts, inverted air hockey pucks, something like that. It's a toy, and it sort of looks like this. And I'll start with a little demo. I take a balloon, attached thusly, and then when you let go, you can't really see that very well, can you? But it floats around on a cushion of air. Now, I made a bunch of these. I started with something that looked like this. And this was way too many holes. They're tiny holes. They're 0.01 inches in diameter. And this, obviously I didn't count them, but there's a lot of holes here. And when I first put this together, it became quickly apparent that the balloon was just going to disappear rapidly without doing anything. So I kept this because it's kind of cool. And because it made me think about other kinds of uses for the same sort of, I don't know, for putting little holes in things, whether it be as a filter plate or maybe as a vacuum chuck for holding flat things, or, I don't know, as the base for a miniature vacuum former. Anyway, this didn't work for its original intent. The next one I made, well, all I have really that's left is this base. This one had a couple rings of the same size tiny holes. That was still too much air going through it, so I filled a bunch in, and it still didn't work, so I peeled it off, and I made this one. So this is the one that I just showed you. This has, you can still see the condensation inside there. This has 2 rings of holes, and this was the first one that sort of worked. And just the next one had 1 ring of holes, and this is really successful. And then I was trying to make something a little fancier, so I made one with some wings, which looks kind of cool, but is a bit heavy. Maybe I'll move the camera and I'll do a better demo of these things. But I want to talk about how I put them together. All of these are cut little circles on the Glowforge, and then just stacked up and glued together to make a tube with a slightly larger diameter. Let's see if I can focus on there. Slightly larger diameter tube at the top to hang onto the balloon. And then there's a plate that has a hole in it, and then a ring, and then the flat plate with the holes in it. And one of these, I don't remember which one, this one, I tried to leave a little gap in the ring. I don't know if you can see that, thinking that perhaps the air coming out of there would push it along. That didn't work. But these actually worked pretty well, and I will stop this and move the camera and see if I can do a better demo. So what better place to do this than on the Glowforge? It's a nice big sheet of glass, smooth. So I'm going to try the one with the wings. Do this without popping the balloon. You can see it really does float very well, especially on this glass. That's actually tremendous. It works pretty well in the hall. Scares the crap out of the cat. This one's a little heavier. The lightest one, I think, is the best. This one goes for quite a while. I don't know. These have very little actual practical value. They don't make a great toy, but they are an interesting experiment in cutting very small holes on the Glowforge, which was, I guess, my original purpose. just to experiment with them. And also just the idea of making this kind of, I don't know, making a tube out of round things and gluing it together and it actually ending up being airtight, which is pretty cool. And I just essentially assembled it on a, this isn't the thing, but on a dowel, keep them all lined up, and glued it together and left it overnight, and it worked great. And they all sealed up really nicely. One thing I did discover is that when you laser cut acrylic, it introduces a lot of stress into the edge. And when you put glue on it, when you put the solvent adhesive on it, the solvent actually softens the surface enough that it starts to relieve the texture, the tension, and you get lots and lots of tiny cracks. You can sort of see them in here. As I rotate it, you see those little lines. Those are actually stress fractures in the plastic, and it weakens the whole assembly a lot. So one of the things that I read online that seems to help is you actually, before you glue them together, you put all the pieces in an oven at, I don't remember what the temperature was, but just below the point at which the plastic starts to soften, and it'll anneal the plastic and relieve a lot of the stress, and then when you glue it, it won't fracture so badly. So next time I try to make something out of acrylic like this, I think I'll try that. Acrylic is kind of fun to work with because it's so easy to glue and it cuts so nicely, but it's not great structurally. It's brittle, and it's hard to photograph because it's clear and reflective. But anyway, that was today's experiment or set of experiments. Actually, this has been going on for a while now, with making air hockey pucks, upside down air hockey pucks. Thanks for watching.